tell you this, but I learned recently that Genesis got it wrong. On the first day, God created the dog. On the second day, God created humanity so that we could serve the dog. On the third day, God created all of the other animals and creatures so the dog would have something to chase. On the fourth day, God created meaningful toil so that humanity could labor in service of the dog. On the fifth day, God created the tennis ball. So the dog may or may not play fetch. On the sixth day, God created veterinary science. So the dog could be well cared for and healthy all the days of its life, and human beings could be broke. On the seventh day, God tried to rest, but even God had to walk the dog. I was recently reminded of a silly little joke because I took one of my Siberians to the vet for a spaying procedure. And it reminded me about how much we invest time and energy and work and money in our pets. How much a depth of capacity we have to love creatures that are so very different from us. And even that depth, that capacity to love for our pets is eclipsed by the love we have for family, for our children, for the labor and the work and the toil and the self-sacrifice we put into their lives. And yes, we correct their misdeeds, but we love them, and we forgive them, and we want them close to us. It's all a reflection, of course, of the love that God has for us. That indomitable, insurmountable love that knows no boundaries, that comes into our human experience in the person of Jesus, lives and teaches and sets example, dies on a cross, and comes back again to give us a demonstration of how nothing confining in our human experience is a barrier for the love of God. Our lessons today are illustrations of how that love of God empowers, transforms, and inspires God's people, from miraculous healings to mystical visions. In that first lesson, Peter raising Tabitha from the dead is one snippet in a series of little vignettes strung together, illustrating how good news begins to spread. Prior to this, Peter is in a town of Lydda where he has healed someone who was paralyzed. Word goes around, and the author adds a little editorial note: people come to believe, and their numbers grow. Also, Peter, the news spreads to Joppa. They summon Peter, come, and we have the story we just heard about Tabitha. And again, the message goes out, the story is told, people believe, and their numbers grow. Now there's another editorial note at the end of this one that sets the stage for how this story is going to expand and develop. This Simon, the tanner, is kind of a vague character in the story. The author never explicitly says that he's a Christian or a believer or a Jew or anything, but does mention his trade, and that's what's significant. A tanner under Jewish codes would be ritually impure, a person who's unclean. You would not, as a rabbi, as a teacher, as a holy person, stay in their house because you would be impure. All of this work with animal carcasses was abhorrent. Peter is already moving away from those 649 some odd codes in the Old Testament that were part of the Jewish faith and custom. And as the story develops, we're going to hear even more dramatically about the centurion Cornelius, who sees in a vision that he's to call this guy Peter from Joppa to come and preach. And they believe, and the Spirit comes upon them, and they're baptized without circumcision or any other connection to the old ways. The love of God knows no boundaries. Not ethnic, not nationality, not race, not personal history. No boundaries. Our second lesson is theologically often referred to as the beatific vision. This grand vision John has in his mystical moment of the throne room of God in heaven, of the household of God, in which the multitudes who have embraced God's gifts and returned God's love with love of their own have been welcomed and celebrate and enjoy the blessing and peace and healing and loving home for all eternity. Our gospel story is one of John's little quirky passages. We heard Jesus arriving in Jerusalem and in the temple for a special celebration, Hanukkah. He's meandering around, apparently, and gets cornered. Come on, Jesus, tell us plainly, are you the Messiah or not? I'm not beating around the bush. Well, of course, he doesn't give him a straight answer. Rather, challenges them. Look at all the things I've done. All of it really gives you plain testimony. You just don't believe. You won't believe. You're not of my sheep. I've said at other times that one of the things we see pop up here and there through the scriptures of the New Testament is this question of how come some of us recognize Jesus for who he is and others don't? How can they not get it? Well, this is part of that answer. You're not of my sheep. Mine know me. They recognize me. And I know them. And I give them eternal life. God's gift sent out richly. And as John tells us in other parts of his gospel, his perspective is not that Jesus came to judge, but that some chose to reject him and others chose to embrace him. The gift is offered. And all God really asks is that we love him in return and treat one another, fellow human beings, with love and dignity and respect. In our day and age, like many generations before us, there is much strife in the world. And modern communications makes us vividly aware of strife and conflict and violence and fear. And in our own nation, we've been regaled with political rhetoric that is just plain ugly. We're in a world that desperately needs this gift, this message. Your Creator loves you, came to be among us, invites you to love in return. to live an ethic of loving your neighbor the way you love yourself. My brothers and sisters, every time we put into the simplest action these basic things, like coming here to worship together, praying in our home as we drive our car, every time we carry forth the smallest act of kindness, charity, compassion, love, and tenderness, we move forward in living the love that Jesus invited us to live, in living the ethic He invited us to live, in giving our example to a world hungry to hear and see the love of God. Let us never tire of living out that example.